with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So this morning, officers were dispatched to this location at 6135 Youngerman Circle about 4 times. The last call was in response to a domestic disturbance at 12:37 a.m. p.m. Involving each call was involving the same individual. Officers arrived at 12:53 p.m. and made contact with a female victim inside the hotel room. The female stated that the suspect pushed the door open to enter back into the hotel room after he had left earlier after a call for police service. As officers spoke with the suspect, he refused to follow any of the directions and respond to a lot of things that they were saying. And he began walking to the back of the hotel room. Officers at that point attempted to take the suspect into custody for refusing to obey their orders and their commands and the earlier incident. During the fight, which lasted well over a minute, the suspect can be heard saying, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. Shortly after, the officer could be heard yelling, he's going for my taser, he's got my taser. The taser could be heard cycling during the altercation. As the taser is cycling, Officer Wing fired his service weapon multiple times. After the initial shots, the suspect continued to advance toward the officers as they attempted to create separation from him. The suspect lunged once more, and Officer Wing fired additional rounds from his duty weapon to stop the threat. Officers then conducted CPR after they handcuffed and secured the subject. Our officer is Officer Wing. Let me get his first name for you. Officer J.H. Wing, ID number 76602. He's been with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in the police capacity for 2 years. And this is his first officer-involved shooting. He's been placed on administrative leave. Per policy, the State Attorney's Office is on scene conducting an independent investigation, and he has been placed, he's been placed on administrative leave. And I'll try to answer any questions that I can.
Chief, there is video circulating of the man on the ground after he had been shot. He appears to have been handcuffed. Was he handcuffed at the time? Can you clarify that? He
was handcuffed after the incident finished, after he was wounded from the police officer's fire shots. That is a policy, that's a procedure that we do because we don't know, we're not medical professionals, and we don't know whether that person's injured or whether they'll get up and try to harm the officers or anybody else that's around.
How many officers were involved in this? Because I'm a little confused.
There was 2 officers.
So there were 2 officers.
One shot, but 2 officers.
Okay, so with 2 officers battling one person?
That's correct.
And you're saying the bad guy the suspect got control of the taser of one of the officers?
That's correct, yes.
What was the other officer doing?
Trying to control the subject.
Go
ahead.
Can you tell us about the injuries to the officer?
Officer was injured one time in his face. He has like a bruise on his face, and he has a contact wound from the taser where he was tased.
Can you go back? I'm a little so just so I have my story straight here. One officer is battling with the suspect. The second officer is trying to pull this officer off of him.
No, that's not it. Both officers were trying to gain control of the suspect after trying to arrest him. He did not want to be arrested, so he fought. They both fought, trying to control him, but they weren't successful in doing that. He was able to get the taser, and then use that taser on our officer.
The hotels have been shut down for hours. This is affecting a lot of people. What's the status of the scene? How long until the hotels are back open?
We are going to work as quickly as possible, but as thoroughly as possible to get the hotels open. Hopefully we can get that done in fairly short order.
When was the first call of the 4 here?
6:24 a.m.
6:24.
Yes.
And the final call was?
The final call was at 12:37 p.m. I'm sorry, I think I said a.m. earlier.
Were any of the officers wearing body cameras?
They were both wearing body cams, yes.
They were activated?
Yes.
Can you confirm if the suspect deployed the taser and actually made contact with the officer and tased him?
He did make contact with
Been listening to Chief T.K. Waters give us the very latest on an officer-involved shooting. An officer fired his service weapon.
He has a short record. I do not have that with me now, but he does have a short record.
And on the handcuffing of him after he had been shot, how quickly are you getting him medical attention, or does that come quickly, or you get him? Can you describe to us that process and that policy of handcuffing him on the ground after he's been shot?
Well, in many of our cases, as this one, once that individual is handcuffed, we immediately begin CPR or life-saving measures to try to save that individual's life. and it was no different in this case. Once he was handcuffed and secured, they began. They did conduct CPR to try to save him.
And that shot was fired while they were on the ground, while they were on the floor.
Excuse me?
And that shot was fired while they were on the floor, while he was.
The initial shots were fired during the altercation.
That's why I'm asking, were they on the floor or were they
During the altercation. That's all I can tell you at
Can
this
you say
point.
where the suspect was shot and how close quarters they were?
I cannot tell you that. That's going to be the medical examiner's job. But
question.
we'll get that answer for you.
Taser?
Excuse me?
Was it Officer Wing's taser?
That's correct. Yes.
So you said it's 12:37.
Thank you.
Officer.
Thank you.